The closing moments of Avengers Infinity War are perhaps some of the darkest moments that the MCU has to offer, seeing many of our favorite heroes being dusted into oblivion by the Mad Titan Thanos. Though his methods were cruel, he saw himself as a savior, eliminating half of all life in the universe in order to ensure that the other half could survive the consequences of overpopulation and resource depletion. While his goals may seem clear in his methodology, it is not always cut and dry, and one of the most often cited questions is what exactly constitutes his definition of life. Many fans have been curious as to whether or not synthetic beings like Vision or Ultron would be susceptible to the snap if they were still alive when it occurred, and seeing as Vision was killed just moments before the snap took place, there is little evidence to support the notion one way or the other. So stick with us, watchers of the Marvel Multiverse, as we discuss whether or not synthetic beings like Vision would be able to be affected by the snap. As with our previous discussion videos, we are simply here to provide both sets of evidence and ideas, but the ultimate decision will be left up to you as the viewer. First, let's take a look at the evidence that Vision would be immune to the effects of the snap, and had he survived, he would have been guaranteed safety from the combined might of all 6 of the assembled Infinity Stones. The first, and perhaps most obvious point of contention, is whether or not Vision is alive, and if he is alive, he is not made up of biological or organic matter. In the MCU, Vision's body is made up of a synthetic tissue polymer that was created by Helen Cho and her advanced tissue printing capabilities via the use of vibranium obtained through Claw. We know that vibranium is not inherently alive, despite its propensity to carry and distribute mass amounts of energy and transfer it to living beings as seen in the Black Panther film. In addition to this, Thanos' philosophy revolves around the conservation of resources in order to preserve the sanctity of life, and thus the argument could be made that since Vision does not have to eat, drink, or consume natural resources, that he is not a threat in terms of resource depletion or overpopulation. The same could be claimed for the likes of Ultron or any other advanced artificial life form in the MCU. Tony Stark has created highly advanced artificial intelligence programs that are designed to think and calculate situations on their own, from Jarvis to Friday to Karen to Edith. But it wasn't until the introduction of the Mind Stone in the process that these programs became something more. While Jarvis was designed to have verbal sparring matches with Tony and is able to break down situations on his own, he still seems to lack the emotional range and capability of a human being. Beings such as Ultron and Vision, however, are made of something more, a deeper level of philosophical insight that allows them to not just exhibit emotion, but to genuinely feel it. While Jarvis shows cursory concern for Tony and his safety, this is part of his programming and directive to keep his creator safe at all costs. Vision, on the other hand, is capable of showing love for Wanda, much like Ultron is able to show genuine concern for Claw after inadvertently chopping off his arm to a level far beyond that of a simple program. As displayed in Age of Ultron, Ultron experiences a wide array of feelings and emotion, from anger, jealousy, rage, to, as with Claw, genuine concern, and even sadness when the Maximoff twins decide to leave his side. It has been stated that the Infinity Stones themselves are alive in a sense, and possess a certain level of consciousness and sentience to them, which could also be a factor in bringing Ultron and the Vision to life. If the Stones believe Vision and Ultron to be alive as a direct result of their influence, then they may decide that they too are susceptible to the snap, seeing as they are on a different level of consciousness than mere machines. The main argument is that this would not make logical sense, seeing as Vision and Ultron don't consume resources, and therefore are not a threat when it comes to overpopulation, but this is not necessarily the case. It has been confirmed that all life forms, including that of plant and animal life, were affected by the snap, which indicates to us that Thanos hasn't reviewed his ecology. The elimination of half of all plants and animals also plays a direct hand in overpopulation and resource depletion, as animals eat one another, and at the fundamental level, plants provide all necessary energy for an ecosystem to sustain itself indefinitely. But what does this have to do with Vision and Ultron in the snap? Well, this means that what an organism provides or takes away from an environment was not taken into consideration when the Stones decided who to snap and who not to snap and what constituted as life. It's also important to note that the definition of life has a subjective interpretation by Thanos that might be mistranslated or misconstrued by the stones themselves, as they may categorize what constitutes life differently as Thanos does. If they consider not only themselves but one another to be alive, then organic matter is not a factor in this decision, though this would mean that the stones could have subjected to the snap themselves if this hypothetical situation is to be explored further, and some of the stones could have been snapped away in the process, which obviously they were not. The main question as of now seems to be what determines the proper interpretation of life, which can change based on the individual and of course the Infinity Stones. Whether or not life has a biological base that is the foundation for the snap choosing its victims, or if there is something more to this definition and what it means to be alive has not yet been confirmed, but we believe we have assembled the strongest arguments on either side. If it were up to us personally, however, we believe that both Vision and Ultron would have been spared from the snap, on the simple basis that all 6 of the Infinity Stones remain after the snap, after it being revealed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe that some of them did in fact have sentience. It doesn't really make sense that none of the stones were snapped away if they themselves constituted as life. In fact, they are known as the pillars of reality, or essentially the pillars of life in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the things that hold everything together. So it would only make sense that if the snap had to do with non-biological matter, that the Infinity Stones too would have been subject to it. And because Vision and Ultron are an extension of the very Infinity Stones themselves, we believe that the stones would not in fact have constituted them as life, even though they do in fact appear to be living, with both Vision and Ultron capable of loving and having true genuine emotions. In the end, we believe that the Infinity Stones would have spared Ultron and Vision, despite them actually being alive, a gift granted to them by the stones themselves, who were spared themselves in the snap. But now we leave the final decision up to you. What do you think the results would be if Vision and Ultron were alive during Thanos' snap? Do you think they would run the risk of being snapped away? Or do you think their inorganic bodies would mean that they are safe? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching the video. Hit that subscribe button to assemble and join our team, and have a great day.